the paradox of ethical overvaluing. Today, I'm joined by Rob Graves, an ex-estate agent and now an estate agency coach. Thanks for joining me today, Rob. Ethical overvaluing, a paradox. Why is that? Talk to me.
So it was, I listened to your previous episode where you talked about, well, I think you coined the phrase, is that right?
I think it came about because we were talking about unethical overvaluing.
Right, okay.
And just for the benefits of those listening or watching, I think it is ethical as long as you tell the punter, the homeowner, it's probably worth 300, but let's try it at 325 and we'll work it. And in 2-3 weeks' time, if it doesn't come down, we'll knock it down.
Okay.
I consider that ethical overvaluing.
So that's my challenge, probably, Chris.
Go on then, talk to me.
So if I look at that, what's the effect to that seller? Bearing in mind all you know about Rightmove statistics.
Well, it's a difficult one for estate agents, isn't it? Because you've got the balancing act of you've got to get the house on the market.
Yeah.
And if you don't get on the market, you could be the best, most correct estate agent out there. But if you're not getting them on the market, I think as long as you're telling the homeowner up front what you genuinely think it's worth today. Now, I do know my very, very good friend from Wigan, Alan Batt, would say to me, if you say that, you're already on the back foot.
Yes. I guess that my point and my concern around the ethical overvaluing is, don't get me wrong, we've all made mistakes when valuing. Sometimes we don't know and you have to work it out. But knowingly putting somebody's house on the market at a price that is above what it's worth, I don't believe is ethical, because we know what the effects of that are. We know that their house is less likely to achieve a better price. It's going to have issues with getting a sale that actually completes.
Yes.
All of these stats, we know those facts. So putting it on at a price that we actually know is too high isn't the right thing to do for the customer.
What if you have to walk away from it though?
Yes. Because again, if you think about it, trying to sell it is going to be hard work. Trying to get the sales to go through is going to be hard work. If it's on at the wrong price, it's probably not the most effective. You know, that 80-20 rule, we make most of our money from a smaller number of customers, don't we?
Okay, I mean, unethical is where you say 325, knowing damn well it's 300, but you don't say to the homeowner at 300. You say, well, we'll try it 325 and see how we get on. I personally believe that is unethical, but saying it is worth 300, but we'll try it. You say you want to try it 325. I mean, the magic triangle, again, teaching ground, it's okay, but some people watching this might not know it. You got the triangle, you got one end, you've got motivation, one is your fear, one is the price, and as long as you've got two of those ends of the triangle, you try it.
Again, I challenge whether that is ethical when you know the consequences and the seller doesn't.
Okay, but then if you look at the stats, and the stats are if a property sells within 25 days, it has a 94% chance of completing, exchanging and completing.
So fall through rates go down to 6%.
Yep.
If you sell it within 25 days.
And if the property takes more than 100 days to sell,
yep,
the fall through rate goes from 94%. The success rate goes down to 56%. So the fall through rate is 44%.
Yes.
Okay, but there's a huge difference between putting it on at 325 and chopping it in 2 weeks versus doing the salami effect that certain very well-known large corporates are very good at.
Yes.
Over a period of months and months when you sign them up for 26 weeks.
Yeah, again, I feel that all of that side that you talk about, because let's face it, some organisations are set up to take on the properties too high and they have processes in place to push those prices down over a period
of time. Is that ethical?
No.
So why do they do it? I mean, you would have...
I work for one of them, so yes.
Well, I'm glad you said it. I was about to...
But again...
I mean, that's being paid, you're being paid listing commission. You're being paid commission on listing. You're being paid commission on price reductions.
So in my day, back then, we weren't paid any of that. We were paid purely on making money.
Which I think, I mean, what's your opinion on bonuses for listings, bonuses for market share?
I'm not so wrapped up in how you pay people. It's more about getting the job right.
Yes, but surely...
I get that some people are motivated by the wrong way.
if you're paying that way, their actions are going to match whatever they get paid on.
I don't think that's the case for everybody, Chris.
Go on.
I don't believe that. So did I honestly, personally, as a negotiator or a manager, look at the pay packet every month? Or did I concentrate on trying to do the job really well? And you know what? The pay packet would take care of itself.
But that's why you're there now, and most people are not. Because I would actually go as far to say that what tends to get bonus tends to get done. But then I would also say, I mean, if that was the case, then the only people that would do overvaluing are the ones that got paid a listing bonus, which is very, probably there's one very large firm in the UK that's very well known for it, but just about everyone overvalues. And this is my opinion on this one. This is going to be a bit controversial. I don't think estate agents care whether they sell a house or not.
Really?
I'm not talking about estate agency bosses here. I'm talking about employed people. And I'm not saying about all. I'm not saying all. I'm saying a big chunk.
Okay, I think, Chris. And again, who knows?
No, okay, right.
That,
okay. And again, some people watching this might be offended by that. Sorry, not. Okay, I'm talking about employed list. Okay, employed listers and valuers watching this. A big chunk of them, not all of them, don't care whether the house sells or not.
I would find that I have more faith that actually that would be the minority and not the majority. And yes, there's always a minority, and there is in any industry, that's driven by the wrong motivations. But I, hand on heart, believe that the majority of estate agents working in corporates or other places are genuinely trying to do a good job. When you've met somebody, we're sat here now having a chat, and you build up rapport, it's only a little step more before you really start caring about their dreams and goals.
Okay, so why are valuers, employed valuers, many of them, not all of them, totally allergic to doing their own vendor management?
Yeah, that's an interesting, again, that's a side
and taking responsibility for getting an offer.
Well, it's interesting because
they're going to witness protection. And all you're doing is you're giving the property to Floss, who's probably 23 years old, never been in a tough market, and doesn't want to offend. So we'll drop it £5,000, and they're just slicing it off like a salami.
Again, the process is wrong with that. I don't disagree with it. But once upon a time, if I remember rightly, Monday afternoon was our vendor contact day, and I sat with all my negotiators and did the vendor contact, and we dished out the properties in accordance to how difficult the conversation was. And that seems to me to be a pretty good way of doing it. Actually, you have to get involved yourself.
But surely the valuer should be doing all the vendor management.
Yeah, I think if you're going to run an organization, there's pros and cons to different things. But if you're going to run a business, you're going to have leverage of some description. So asking the valuer to do all of it isn't leveraging the valuer. But I do believe they need to be there.
But if you actually look at the ones that do actually take where the valuer does the vendor management, so self-employed agents and also those sort of personal agents, their exchange ratios are 60 and 70% of the properties they list. The corporate estate agents, the big ones, their exchange ratios are 40-45%.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so
the proof is in the pudding. I guess I get that, okay. And the data tells you that. But I think there's an element that this idea, because I get the bit about the self-employed agent and what they do. I think a lot of it too is about onboarding, Chris. How they onboard sellers is really interesting, because I don't think that's done particularly well. But that might be a subject for a different day.
So let's come back to the original question. We talked about is it ethical or not? And you're saying any overvaluing is not ethical.
As long as it's consciously overvaluing a seller's property, I don't believe that's ethical.
Even if you're saying, well, it's really, in this instance, I think it's worth 300, but we'll try it at 325. You still think that's unethical?
Yes.
We'll have to agree to disagree.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time today, Rob.
Brilliant. Thanks, Chris.